Hello everyone. Today we will understand about microorganisms. So micro, that means the size is very small. Okay, and organisms, that means any creature. So let's see what are microorganisms. Basically, organisms that are so small that they can only be seen through a microscope are called microorganisms or microbes. And the study of microorganisms is known as microbiology. And the scientists who study microorganisms, they are called microbiologists. Next is, where are microbes found? So they can be found everywhere. That means it can be found in you, in some plants, in the soil and in the water. So they are widely spread. So here we have some types of microorganisms. The first one is bacteria, and its singular is bacterium, and algae, its singular is alga, and protozoa, its singular is protozoan. Next, fungi, and its singular is fungus. Viruses, singular is virus. So let's talk about the bacteria first. These are these are very simple unicellular living things and can be found in everywhere, like in air, water, soil, and in sometimes bodies of the other organisms, including human beings. And nearly approximately 2.5 billion bacteria are present in 1 gram of a garden soil. And we have some different shapes of that. First one is rod shaped, and it is known as bacilli, and spherical, it is called cocci, and spiral, which is known as spirilla. Okay, so these are the three shapes. Rod shape, that means it is rod like structure. Spherical, they are round. Okay, and the spiral, they are spring-like structure. Okay, look at these pictures. This one is cocci, that means it's a spherical. Okay, and spherical, that means round shape. So look at the chain of these bacteria. And the next one is bacilli, that means rod shape. So look at the structure of these are rod like. And the next one we have spiral. The next we have algae. So these are simple plant-like organisms. They have a cell wall and a chlorophyll within the cells. And they can be found in ponds, lakes, and seawater. So we have different types of algae: Spirogyra, Chlamydomonas, Fucus, and Laminaria. Next we have protozoa. So these are basically unicellular organisms that have animal-like characteristics. They can move from place to place, and they capture and eat food. Some protozoa live in fresh or salt water. Okay, so let's see what can be the examples of protozoa. So the first one is Chirodia, and second is amoeba, engulfing food. So like this is food particle, and basically it doesn't have any mouth, so it uses its cytoplasm with having a cell wall, and it just makes artificial hands. They are known as pseudopodia. Okay, and with the help of these pseudopodia, they just engulf the food, and it then further goes to the food vector. Okay, and next one is paramecium. This is trypanosoma. Now move to our next one, that is fungi. So these are also plant-like organisms that contain chlorophyll. They may be unicellular or multicellular, and most of the fungi, they are a parasite or saprophyte. So parasites, that means they live on or inside the body of others, and saprophytes, that means they just feed on the dead and decaying matters. Okay, so let's see what can be the examples of this. So the penicillin is a injection which is given to the patient who is suffering from typhoid, and it is derived from the Penicillium fungi. And if we go to this yeast, it is used for the fermentation processes, and in the bakery it is used as widely, like for making the breads, for making the different buns or other things. And agaricus, it's a mushroom that we use for our food. Now move to our next topic, that is viruses. So viruses, these are the smallest microorganisms, and they can be observed in under the electron microscope, which magnifies all the objects more than 2 lakh times. Okay, so basically these viruses, they do not reproduce by themselves, and they are inactive, or can be included in the non-living things when they are not in the host body. Okay, and when they are in host body, they just replicate and form so many identical copies of it. Okay, so basically these are non-living before having a host. Check the pictures of different viruses. The first one is tobacco mosaic virus, adenovirus, influenza virus, and bacteriophage. If we say that everything has its advantages and disadvantages, so it is not wrong, and it is same with the microorganisms. So if we say that the microorganisms are bad, but in some cases these are uh, good for us. So let's see what can be the different uses of these microorganisms. So first of all, broadly, we have divided these into four categories, like in food and beverage industry, in making medicines and vaccines, in agriculture, and in cleaning the environment. Go with the first one, that is food and beverage industry. Bacteria help us in making certain foods. So if we talk about the lactobacillus, this is a bacterium that sours milk and used to make some curd from milk, and cheese is also made by the action of bacteria on milk. So let's see how we can make curd and cheese from milk. So here is an activity that how you can make some curd from the milk. So first of all, what we need to do, heat some milk in a pan until it is lukewarm. That means approximately 40 to 45 degrees Celsius warm, and add a teaspoon of curd to it and stir. Cover and leave it for 6 to 8 hours. The milk in the pan will get converted to curd. If you live in a cold place, preheat an oven to about 80 degrees Celsius. Switch it off and keep the milk curd mixture in it for 6 to 8 hours. Next, we have making bread. So yeast plays an important role in the preparation of food. So how it takes place? Look at the activity. First of all, what we need to do, take about half kg flour, that means atta or maida. Put warm water in a cup so that the cup is 1/3 full, and add 2 to 3 teaspoons of sugar to the warm water and mix it well. Now add half teaspoon of yeast powder to the warm water. Cover the cup and leave for half hour, and then add the sugar and yeast solution to the flour, and add more warm water to the flour and knead to form a dough, and cover the dough and keep in warm place for 2 to 3 hours. So when it rises up, bubbles of carbon dioxide given off cause of the dough to rise. So this is how you can make some bread. Okay, so now we have making idli, dosa, and dhokla. So, how you can make these means basically this happens by the process of fermentation. Okay, and the bacteria present in the mixture, it becomes the mixture sour and then converts into the fluffy dishes like this. Alcohol and alcoholic drinks can also be manufactured with the help of yeast and sugar. Next, we have other uses of microorganisms in the food industry. For example, for making some ice creams and jellies, this allergen, which is algae, it is used in the making of these, making of the process of these. Okay. So next we have making medicines and vaccines. So like bacteria and fungi, they are widely used as the antibiotics. The penicillin, which is I already told you people that it is derived from the penicillium. So streptomycin, tetracycline, and erythromycins are the some common examples of antibiotics that are made from the different bacteria and fungi. Even there are some microorganisms that are used to make the vaccines. That means they are injected to the persons before falling sick. For example, cholera, typhoid, tuberculosis, hepatitis, chickenpox, measles, polio, and smallpox. How these vaccines work? So basically, they just make the antibodies. That means antidotes of the particular disease, which is caused by some bacteria and viruses. And when these antibodies are produced in your body, that means you have immunity about that particular disease. Okay, and this process means the vaccination is therefore called immunization because it gives immunity for the particular disease. Bacteria and yeast are used in making vitamin B complex tablets also, and the hormone insulin obtained from bacteria, which is given to the diabetic patient. Next, we have in agriculture, so some bacterium like rhizobium. So it lives in the root nodules of the plant. Okay, and such as gram, peas, and beans. And these bacteria, they just absorb the nutrient of the atmosphere and then converts into nitrates, which serve as the natural fertilizers for the plants. In cleaning the environment, so we have so many decomposers that are basically microorganisms. For example, bacteria, fungi, and protozoa, they help by the decomposing the tissues of dead organisms. Some bacteria decompose sewage and other wastes in water. So this is nature's method of keeping the environment free from the pollution. Since algae can photosynthesize, they give off oxygen. Like when it is on the ocean or at the water body, they just release some oxygen, which is useful for the aquatic animals and aquatic plants. Okay. Next, we have some other uses of microorganisms. So, they help the animals digest grass and plants by breaking down cellulose, which the animals themselves cannot do. So, basically, Ruminococcus, these are the bacteria that help to digest grass and plants, and even some bacteria useful in the tobacco, leather, and jute industries. So tanning, it's a process in which we just make leather from the animal skins by using some chemicals. So basically we use the bacteria for tanning process. Like if we talk about the jute plants, they are submerged in water and the bacterial action separates the fiber from the stem. We have some bacteria that decompose the waste materials naturally. Okay, and this and which is used as the fuel, and it is one of the chief constituents of the biogas. So next we have harmful microorganisms. So first of all, microorganisms cause diseases. and let's learn about these kind of microorganisms. So basically the microorganisms that produce that cause diseases, they are known as pathogens or germs. Okay, and they can be, and they cause diseases through many ways. So let's see, first of all we have through air. So what the mode of transmission is air here, like when you sneeze and spit in the air, and the germs present in that, it moves to the healthy person, and with that we can have harmful diseases, and even some viral diseases can be spread by this way. Okay, like common cold, flu, chickenpox, mumps, tuberculosis, measles, and polio. So these are the examples of diseases that pass through air. And next we have through water and food. That means here we are intaking contaminated food, and this can cause so many diseases in us, for example cholera, typhoid, and hepatitis. The next one is through direct contact. That means when you just shake your hand with the infected person, or something other contacts, like with a sick person, example ringworm, common cold, flu, and chickenpox. So these are the examples, mostly viral diseases. Next we have through insects. So here mosquito is the most common example. Like the female anopheles, it spreads malaria. Like this anopheles, it carries germs of malaria. Okay, and when it bites the healthy person, then he or she can get if infected with malaria. Okay, and even the house flies that contaminate our food, and even aedes is also a mosquito which which carries dengue virus. Basically these female mosquitoes bite, they just snap to get some nutrients from our blood. Next we have through cuts and wounds. So for example, you have a minor cut and it is still opened, and you are not injected with the tetanus. At that condition, some microorganisms can go through the cuts and wounds of on your body. Okay, and then they can directly enter uh, in the body. Okay, next we have anthrax. So it is a disease that affects humans and cattle. Okay, and it is caused by the bacterium. Next, a virus causes the danger. Next, a virus causes the dangerous foot and mouth diseases in cattle. Next, citrus canker. So it is a bacterial disease that affects trees of citrus fruits and is spread by air. Next we have yellow vein mosaic. So what happens here? It affects the vegetables like bhindi, like okra. So it's a viral disease spread by some insects in the bhindi. That means okra. Rust of wheat is also a fungal disease. So what happens here? It has some patches of brown rust on the wheat. Okay, and it is spread by air and seeds. Now let's talk about the preventing the spread of communicable diseases. So first of all, what are communicable diseases? So these are the diseases that can be spread by some microorganisms from one person to the another person. Okay, and that this is called communicable disease. And how can you preventing the spread of these diseases? For example, like use your handkerchief on your nose and mouth while sneezing. And disease spread by insects such as mosquito, these can be contained by not allowing them to breed. To prevent mosquitoes from breeding, we should not allow water to collect anywhere in our neighborhood. Okay, and even so many other things you can follow. For example, uh, eat covered food always, and wash your hands before and after the meal. Okay, so these are the small things that you can follow for preventing these diseases to be spread. So next we have microorganisms spoil food. So we have microorganisms that can spoil our food, and bacteria and fungi, they are mostly responsible for the spoilage of food, like souring of milk and putrefaction of meat, rotting of potatoes, vegetables and fruits are due to the action of bacteria, and even growth of mold can make food unfit for consumption. That means like you can easily see some molds present on the bread, and yeast can also make fruit juices, tomato juices, etc. unfit for consumption due to fermentation. And even microorganisms growing on food sometimes produce toxic substance, and these toxic substance, they just poison our food, and this is known as food poisoning. And if we take these food items, and we can suffer from this disease, it's a food poisoning. Next, we have food preservation. So, just now we read that the microorganisms can spoil our food. So, what would happen if we store in a manner so that the growth of these microorganisms cannot be there on the food items? And this process is known as preservation, for storing the food for a longer time. So it can include two main points, like killing the microbes in food and stopping them from the growing again. Okay, so for this process we have different methods, so let's see. First thing, we have heating. So if you heat the food items, so it can be stored for a longer time, for example milk. Next, we have pasteurization of milk. That means when you just heat the milk at 70 degrees Celsius, at that condition it just kills the most of the bacteria present in that. And it was invented by Louis Pasteur. Cooling also can stop microbes from growing and reproducing, and hence preserves the food. Like if you refrigerate something for about 5 degrees Celsius, at that condition it can be stored for few days. Okay, and if you deep preserve the food like below minus 18 degree, then it can be prevent it getting spoiled for a few months. Even we have some chemical preservation, so like salt and sugar. So by salting the food items, it can be stored for a longer time, and even the with the help of sugar also. Oil and vinegar also provide an environment in which microorganisms cannot grow. So next we have drying and or dehydration. So it means when you just dehydrate the things, like remove the water from the food items, that it can be stored for a longer time, for example your dry fruits. Next we have canning. So in the canning process, food is stored in the airtight containers, so hence they are able to be stored for a year. So students, here our chapter completes. In the next video we will come with our next chapter.